Hi, I'm Sommer Nyte. I am a managing broker with Whatcom County, and today I have Michael Dormer with Halcyon Home Loans. Hi, Michael.
Hello,
And
Summer.
I wanted to invite him to talk to me a little bit and ultimately talk to all of you about interest rates because the conversation that we're hearing right now is people are waiting for the interest rates to go down. It's one of the main reasons we're hearing why people don't want to purchase houses right now. Is that what you're hearing,
Yeah,
Michael?
yeah. That's exactly right. And it's a common enough what objection's not the word. It's a common enough frame of thought that it really does impact what the market is doing as a whole right now. So it's a huge subject. It's a timely subject as well.
Okay. So, what I hear is we're waiting for the interest rates to go down and go down to what, right? People are thinking, I'm waiting for the rates to go back to 3.25 or 4%. I see the look on your face.
Fabulous.
I
Yeah.
know. So I think the first thing to talk about is how did we ever even get there? And are the rates ever going back to 3%?
Yeah. So we had historically low, just absurdly low, really you're paying practically nothing interest rates during I think what we can all agree was a little bit of a strange period of time for us culturally, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic, right? I mean, it was the whole thing. And the reason interest rates ever got that low in the first place was because there was such a depression, such uncertainty about the economic standstill because of the pandemic that the Federal Reserve aimed its endless fire hose of money at the problem. And that's how we got the low interest rates. The low mortgage interest rates were a knock on effect of everything else that we were doing. But sure, we were all happy about it. We took it. It was great, but it wasn't something that happened naturally. It wasn't organically, oh, this is just what rates did. We needed a global pandemic to do it. So the notion that interest rates are ever going to get back down to that level in our lifetime, let's not hope for round two of COVID, right? COVID 29 or whatever the variant would look like. Let's not go there. But consequently, I think the best we can hope for is that interest rates eventually, over time, and today's not the day, revert to the mean. And we saw before COVID, between about 2011 and right up until then, interest rates for 10 years averaged around 4.5%.
Sure.
That's a healthy benchmark. 3% and all that was just crazy town. So,
Yeah. So, I
yeah.
mean, essentially, the government was concerned that everything was going to go to heck in a handbasket during COVID. And they said, well, we better make sure that the economy keeps moving. We're going to drop everything. And the unfortunate side effect was it worked a little too
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
and it caused an insane housing market where people were bidding up. I mean, and if you think about it, during COVID, we had people who were making wages in high paying areas. Okay, so I'm in Bellingham, and comparably, you're going to make more money in Seattle or California, and those people were suddenly working from home. They had houses they could sell for million plus. They had interest rates that were like nothing to work with, and they could move around and work remotely. So not only did we have these super low interest rates, we had people moving about the country, going to lower cost of living areas with a lot of money. And what happened? All of the prices went way up. So
Yep.
thanks, government. Um, you don't say that very often. Um, so okay, so that's kind of how we got to where we are, right? So
Right.
now what are interest rates doing right now? What are people looking at if they're buying today?
Yeah. So today, as I look down at my happy little calendar on my screen here, so today we're recording this Friday, April 18th, 2025, and interest rates, I know, right? The year and everything, with the timestamp this thing. And interest rates, it's kind of a fuzzy question because they move often. We're about a week removed from some fascinating news about tariffs and trade wars and all of that stuff, which has a knock on impact on the market and not necessarily a good one for interest rates. So, all that said, somewhere in the mid to high sixes, and that's only very recently down from the low sevens, which it was just a few days ago. So there's a lot of volatility. Words are hard on a Friday, Summer. A lot of volatility there, but that's where we are as of today.
Okay, great. So So we're looking at around the mid to high sixes right now.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're
Yep.
not going back to the threes, and maybe we'll get back to the fours or the fives, but relatively speaking, we're still sitting pretty. I mean, we're not looking at 10, 12. I mean, we've had some historical, much higher interest rates, right?
We have. Well, long before you and I, our youthful selves, got into the business, although you and I have both been doing this for a very long time. That having been said, we look back to like the Carter administration, and we hear tales from our grandparents about interest rates being, 17, 18%. You kids have it lucky these days. And we giggle about that, but it's true. The cost to borrow, while it is historically high, it's higher in what I'll call the near historical term. It is not higher in the long term. People still do, and they are right now today, buying homes at these interest rates, and they're having some success at it for reasons I'm sure you're about to talk about in just a moment if I know you, Summer.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, so we're at these mid to high sixes. We
Yeah.
shouldn't be waiting to go back to these threes or fours. Yes, maybe we'll go back a little lower, but what's going to happen when that interest rate goes to the low sixes or the high fives?
Yeah, and it's this goes back to what we were talking about just 5 minutes ago. You talked about heck in a handbasket. We had a different sort of heck going into a different sort of handbasket where the market just went bananas because interest rate borrowing costs were so low. And I happen to have this happy little pen that I'm now using as a prop to make my point. This is our
Nice.
lever here. When borrowing costs are low, demand is high, and that's what pushes prices up because it's just cheaper to buy. And for all the reasons you had mentioned, right? The pandemic brought about like a new way of life for a lot of people. They can move to lovely Bellingham from Kirkland, Bellevue, Seattle, and Canada and California and so forth. Well, now we have the opposite effect with this lever. Interest rates are higher, it's a higher cost to borrow. What that does is decrease demand, and that creates price stability. It's right now we're not seeing rampant appreciation for that reason. But what happens when interest rates go down? And this harkens all the way back to the question we started with is, hey, when we have people that are on the fence waiting for interest rates to go down, and believe you me, there are a lot of them. I have these conversations every single day. When interest rates go down, they all jump off the fence onto the cap of my pen. And what that does is that increases demand, and we don't have a whole lot more homes that suddenly jump on the market. So we have this limited pool of supply, people that are willing and able to sell their homes right now, and a lot more people going after them. And it's the old saw about a bottle of water in a desert. You know, the hotter it is, the more you're willing to pay for that bottle of water. And there you have it. So look, grain of salt for your subscribership and your listeners. You're a real estate broker. I'm a mortgage professional. Yeah, grain of salt. We're both going to say now's a great time to buy a home, but it really is for reasons given. It's just really simple supply and demand.
Yeah. And it's not to say that if the rates go down, that it won't be a great time to buy. It's going to be a harder time to buy. That
Yep.
we can guarantee. Yeah, and I think to just kind of almost simplify a little bit of what you said or to give it a different perspective. Okay, so right now at your 6.5%, you're looking at a $650,000 home and your payment's going to be X based on your down payment, right?
Right.
Well, if you wait for the rate to go down so that your monthly payment goes down, but now you have to be competitive and you have to pay more for the house, you're likely still going to have that same monthly payment or close or maybe even more.
Yeah.
So, doesn't it feel more comfortable to buy a house when you, the buyer, have a little bit of power and you're not fighting against two, three, 10 other people? I mean, I've got buyers coming in low on offers right now and they're getting them because it's not competitive. Once it gets competitive, all bets are off.
So when you buy a house, you get exactly one bite at the apple for the asset acquisition price, right? You buy it at this price, that never changes. With a mortgage, as we saw during COVID, you may, no guarantees. It's irresponsible to say, oh, definitely you can refinance down the road. Maybe, and I would even say probably, but who knows what the future may bring. But if we even just kind of play the odds a little and we see a home that is reasonably priced and we are able to make that work from a budget perspective, chances are pretty darn good that when and if, and I strongly believe when, but when interest rates do reduce, we have the opportunity to do what so many people have done before, and that's refinance and make that home less expensive. The reverse is not true. If you wait a couple of years, now you get that one bite at the apple. The price is higher for the home, and if we, my giant calculator, because I'm getting old and I need the giant numbers here, it's going to break out that it is probably going to be more expensive, just from a monthly payment perspective, to buy a home down the road at a higher price, albeit at a lower interest rate. The opportunity that exists now is having your cake and eating it too. You just have to do it two distinct steps.
Yeah, and something you said just resonated with me as well. You said assuming that you can refinance, right?
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
other side of that is if for some reason the rates don't go down from where you
Mm-hmm.
bought at
Sure.
and you can't refinance, that means that the rates have gone up, which means that you bought at a really good time.
Look at that. Look at that. You timed the market, which is impossible to do. You can only do it in 2020 hindsight. But
Oh
look
my
at that.
gosh. And
Yeah.
that whole thought of people timing the market
Oh boy.
and it
Yeah.
just like I do this for a living, you do this for a living. Don't you think that if we could actually time the market, don't you think people like you and I would be much better off?
Yeah, we would be having this Zoom call from our private island somewhere, is what would be
Yeah, I would
happening. Yeah.
definitely be on a floating cabana doing this Zoom call. I wouldn't even be doing this Zoom call because I would have made bank in all my perfectly timed real estate.
But we live to serve other people at this point, and the message of service here is to say, yeah, there is no there is no such thing as waiting for this mythical bubble to pop. There is no bubble. I mean, we are where we are.
Yeah.
There aren't enough houses to go around. And for that reason, housing will inexorably continue to get more expensive. Just the question is, how expensive do you want it to be? Now is a pretty good point after COVID. We're at this little bit of a plateau to
Yeah.
get in on a home ownership opportunity and build equity. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I will just kind of recap because this is what I
Yeah.
wanted to present to anybody watching this, my viewers and my friends on social media, just kind of reiterating why interest rates did what they did, where we're at right now, and the benefits of if you can get into the market right now, why it honestly makes more sense than trying to do this timing of the market or waiting for those rates to go down, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to inadvertently shoot themselves in the foot waiting for those rates to go down because now they're going to be complaining that they're getting beat out on offers or they're paying way over list and
Right.
really they're going to be in the same position. So
Yep. Yep. Exactly. All right.
well, I appreciate your time today. Again, I'm Summer Nyte. I'm with Remax Whatcom County. I do serve all of
Yeah.
Whatcom County. And Michael, would you like to tell my viewership the areas that you serve? Because you have a much broader base for your lending services.
Oh, golly. Yeah. I can do it from my desk, which is fabulous here. So it's the entire state of Washington, but a focus on the North Puget Sound area, Whatcom, Skagit, Island, Snohomish, and surrounds. But I can help you anywhere in Washington State. Thanks for the shout out. And Summer, thanks for an opportunity just to have this chat with those that are following you. I think it's great counsel.
Well, thank you again. And we'll have to do it again maybe soon.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Let's get her done.
All right. Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Summer. Bye bye.
Bye.